the upstairs room right above the front door, and it's in this room that the gas line came down from the drugstore on Queen Street, down the side, inside of the sidewalk, and came up the wall, and we discovered it in the wall, in the window sill, and it went out to the light, and that's how they got the gas, and that was manufactured gas. And if you look out this window, you're looking across the road at the park, and that gully originally ran right through past where this building, and they just leveled the spot and built this building from the ruins of the town on this spot. And when they put the railway down in 1850, they bulldozed all the dirt down to level it and build it up in front of the lodge, because somewhere there's a photograph of the front door, and it's 5 steps going up to the front door. If you go into the basement and the windows on the front of the building, they used to look out into sunlight, but they filled them all in. The army, when they came here in the I have to stop and think when they came here, when they had the Fenian raids, they were the ones that plastered the outside of the building and made it look like it was a block building. And they had outhouses against the fence in the backyard.
How thick were you saying the plaster was on it?
Pardon?
How thick is the plaster on the building?
The plaster's not all that thick. It's about maybe 3/4 of an inch to an inch, because it's just field stone. The walls are, but the walls are 3 feet thick at the footing, 2 foot at the eave.
And you were saying it was built as a store before a barracks building?
Yeah, this building was not built for a lodge. It was built on the lot that the original lodge was on, and it was burnt in the War of 1812. And they built it as a store and a dance hall, and the upstairs had cove ceilings. You could see in the attic where they had cove ceilings, and there was a 8-foot wide staircase went up to the 2nd floor, and I can show you in the back in the historical room where that comes up. And what else is there?
You're talking about the windows here and how they're taken from the town.
I've been told when we were working on this that the 6 windows across the front, you have to realize this building was built from the ruins of the town. You'll see in the attic, you'll see timbers scorched and things like that. They built it from whatever they could find. And these windows, I was told, came from the Fort George, that the bunkhouses out there were just 1 story high. And when the Americans burnt the town, it burnt the roof off these buildings and the walls fell out, and so the windows were not damaged. And these 6 across here, they say, came from out there. If you start to look around the building, you'll see the windows on the walls are all different sizes. Yeah. And park, you're looking at the park out here. It actually ran right straight through and around, and it comes out onto the, at the other end of Wellington Street, onto the Commons. And that had a stream running through it, and it crossed the park. And in the corner, when I was a boy, there was a culvert where the railway was, and the water ran and down that street. When they put the water line in 1900, they put a sewer down that street, and it's just below ground, and it goes down to Regent, cuts across to Front Street, and then out, and it dumped out in the lake. In them days, the apron was left at the chair. As you moved ahead, that apron stayed, and they're all silk aprons. And this is as many as they have left. I think we had trouble finding them. And lots of interesting things in here that we discovered. Okay. In this wall is a window, and a full-size window. There was this 8-foot wide staircase, ran down. It was 3 steps down that side and 3 steps down this to a landing, and that ran down into the big hall. And you can take that base board off and you'll see the window there. It's still there.
And it's just plastered right over?
Yeah. They took the window out there and put that fire escape in. They come and got me with my loader to lift that. And I can't tell you when that was. More than likely, it may be 57, 58, somewhere's in there.
So up until that point, that was a window still to outside?
Yeah, and if you look at that, we found a lot of interesting things when we were working here. And this here, hanging here with all the symbols on it, was all rolled up in a ball in one of the rooms. Behind this wall are 5 windows. And what we just discovered, that from each window, they had a 6-inch stovepipe from outside, just inside this wall. It was just behind the paper. First, when we come across, we couldn't figure out what it was. Then we found out it was ventilation. Because that ventilator in the middle of the room ran right through the roof, and there was a great big ventilator outside, just gravity dispense. And above the windows, there was 3 awnings on this wall and 1 at that wall, and they didn't have one here, I don't think, but that let the light in. And before we fixed it, you could see where they were all up there, but we redid that ceiling.
Oh, is that when you're talking about the old pictures, you'll see the drawings of the lodge, how it has the windows and the extra sort of part on the roof? That's where the light was coming in through those?
Yeah.
Ah, so that's how you were saying how they were holding meetings here before electricity.
Yeah. See, we just closed them off, insulated them, and sealed them, and put plate glass in front to protect the windows.
Very nice.
I'm trying to think what else there is in here.
Well, the old hardwood instead of the carpeting. Carpeting was put in 1900s, right? In here, so it would have been just the hardwood on the floor for the lodge meetings before, wouldn't it?
This floor was rebuilt. My father helped put this floor down, the original floor. They changed that. I should look at a notice that'll tell me. I think his name was Ferguson. I can't see very well, Gord.
What year are we looking for here?
His name was, it was past mess came apart. And in there, when they were doing this job, the master and all the officers and the workers signed the inside of that thing. It's still there.
I've heard there's lots of signatures in this lodge room, from the altar to pretty much everything.
This altar was made by Wally Secord's father, and it's wild cherry, and they cut the tree in his bush dried it, and they made that altar.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And the working tool case was made by Terry McGuire. Yeah. There's many funny things. Of course, we advertised that anybody had anything. And up beside the secretary's desk, there was that space that was empty. And so, maybe 6 months after we got into working in here, we come one morning and lo and behold, sitting on the floor downstairs was the treasurer's desk. Nobody owned up to where it came from. I asked and asked and asked. And one time, Wally Secord, I was up to his house. He says, Noel, I got to tell you a story. I says, what's that? The treasurer's desk, I took it home to fix it. He says, and I forgot all about it, and it was in the shed. And he says, when you said about it, lodge, about it missing, I thought, I wonder where it went. He says, lo and behold, it was still there. He said, and then I was too embarrassed to let on I'd done it.
That's awesome. When that was?
Of course, in a small town, you're involved in everything. And Paul Albertson was president of the Chamber of Commerce, and the town supposedly it supplied them with a building. Well, they had them in the bottom of the town hall, and the lady who was in charge came around to the fire hall one day and said, no, I got a problem. I said, what's your problem? He says, my girls are fainting all the time. I says, fainting? Not drinking? No, fainting. Just go down at their desk. So I go around the corner there and go in. I think you had about 6 or 7 girls working. I said, what happens? We don't know, we're just sitting here and doing it. I lit a candle and put it on, the wick was a fire flame that there was no oxygen in the room. They closed the door and there was no circulation. And so I said, you can't have people in here unless you open the door and some of the windows. The town wanted to put them with where the outhouse was in the park, and they didn't want to go out there. Paul came to me and said, have you got any room at the lodge that we might be able to rent? And I said, gee, let's go down and look. And we had this big room, and hardly anybody used it, eh? So we got talking about it, and he went back to the chamber, and they thought it was interesting. And so I talked to the lodge, and they thought it was interesting. And there was an interesting night we made that decision. At that time, I used to have quite a few rum. And I was going with a girl from my broker's office in Niagara, in St. Catharines. And I phoned her the next day, and I said, Barbara, what was the other? I don't want to talk to you ever again. I said, oh, what happened? She said, you drunken fuck. And so I talked to Seiko at the old man. He says, you came in here, you were drunk when you came. And he said, we closed the door and left you. And he said, I said, when did we go out? We never did know. I said, who was there? Well, Barbara and Paul and you. I said, oh, isn't that interesting? I didn't want to call Paul. And finally the next week I thought, she said, better call. So I called. I don't want to talk to you. He said, I've still got a hangover. I said, what did we end up at? I remembered $1,000. And I always thought they were talking $1,000 a month. At that time, I thought that was a lot of money, you know. So I sat down with him and I said, what did you get from that? He said, I made some notes. We offered you $1,000 I thought it was $1,000 a year. He said, no, we offered you $1,000 a month. Wow, holy shit. I said, we could do that. Back to the lodge, and Tony Brandon has got this information. I found it, and he stored it somehow. Yeah. And that's how we came here. And the first year they came, we went, and then they needed, the third year they had somebody steal the air conditioners out of the windows. And so we put a new furnace in for them with circuit with air, and then charged it back to them so much a month. And so they were there for 15 years, and that's what got us on our feet. We were able to do the road, we were able to do the parking lot, and we had, at the end of the year, 2000, we had $360,000 invested, and they still got some of that invested. But that was fantastic, you know.
So was it from the chamber coming in that the kitchen was put in and the bathrooms were moved?
The kitchen was in when they came, and we had put serving windows out into that side. We just left them there. And they had redone, when the chamber left, they redone the floor or something. But yeah, but that was a godsend to the lodge. Because at the end, I think we were getting like $1,400 a month or something. And like our everyday expenses were being covered by the lodge dues. So it was well done.
Okay.
There was a 8 foot wide set of stairs that ran up to a landing in front of the window I talked about upstairs. And it ran from here up to maybe 2 foot below the ceiling there. So landing, they had stairs going up each side in what we call now the archive room. And the upstairs was a dance hall, and the ceilings were all coved. This is a room at the top, at the end of the archive room, and we left this room as it originally was. We left it open there, you could see it was hand split lath in here. And the baseboard was the original baseboard, and the floor was the original floor. When the lodge came here, this door used to come in to an alley, a little room here that had another door that went into the lodge. That's how you originally went into the lodge. Before they put the stairs up that end, they were using the big stairs, eh?
Oh, in the museum, they were coming up
Yeah.
there and then entering
Yeah.
in here. And this, the images on the wall here.
Yeah. We found when we was cleaning the wall off that the outer guard sat here, and I think it says 1904. This date is 1904.
And that was something the outer guard in 1904 put on the wall?
Yeah, he was very busy outer guard. He had the G, and he had the compass, and he had the image of the square there, but it never got painted in. So we just covered it for history so that they could see it.
And then right next to us here are the stairs to the attic, correct?
And this,
So we'll turn around
this
here.
set of stairs goes up to the attic. And the attic is, we put lots of insulation in there, but they changed it around, I think, when they did the heating. I'm not sure what they did.
Mm-hmm.
The caretaker saw a light in the attic, and he thought it was a hole in the roof. And actually, see, when we were doing these windows, where the windows are covered in, we just covered them with black plastic and we painted them black. So what's happened in here is that the plastics come over and the light from the window was shining up behind them. And they thought for sure, they had me down here about 4 times. And it thought, but that couldn't happen.